Imagine a child eyes closed, not playing video games, but mentally piloting a UFO. Pretty wild, right?
It's definitely pushing the boundaries of what we typically think of when we talk about UFOs.
Welcome, viewers, to The Quantum Soul. Today we're going deep into a theory that links children, particularly from indigenous cultures, with a unique psychic connection to UFOs.
Yeah, it's a really interesting intersection of ufology, ancient spiritual practices, and even some whispers from within the military-industrial complex.
We'll be using accounts from ex-military personnel like Jake Barber, legal experts, and even some scientific research.
You know what makes Barber's testimony so compelling is his background. He's not just a UFO enthusiast. He claims to have been involved with government programs that used what he calls psionic assets. These are individuals, often children, and those from indigenous communities that possess strong psychic abilities.
So Barber suggests these individuals were chosen because they have this connection to the unseen world, a kind of sensitivity that most adults lose as they get older.
It's true. Think about how children have such vivid imaginations and that sense of wonder, and that's something we tend to lose as we grew up. And indigenous cultures often have a deep spiritual connection to nature, this reverence for the unseen forces that shape our world.
It's like they've held on to a primal awareness that modern society is kind of pushed aside.
Yeah, and Barber's not alone in his claims. Daniel Sheehan, an attorney with the New Paradigm Institute, backs up these claims. He says there are secret programs that actively recruit people with psychic abilities.
So we have these individuals with potentially extraordinary abilities, but what exactly are they interacting with? Are UFOs just machines, or is there something more to them?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Barber proposes that UFOs might not be simply nuts and bolts machines, but rather entities with a type of consciousness. He states that these UFOs don't respond to conventional controls, implying they might operate on principles we haven't even begun to understand, possibly reacting to thoughts or intentions.
So are we saying that these UFOs are potentially alive and responsive on a level we can't even comprehend?
That's the implication, and it really challenges our traditional understanding of technology. It suggests that technology might not be about manipulating physical matter, but about interacting with consciousness itself.
Okay, that's a lot to take in. We've got these potentially gifted individuals and these potentially conscious UFOs, but how do they interact? What's the bridge between the human mind and these extraordinary objects?
The answer might lie in telepathy.
Mind-to-mind communication. You're saying this could be the key to the UFO mystery.
There are a lot of intriguing accounts from fighter pilots who report feeling a presence or thought before they even see a UFO. It's as if they're being psychically scanned.
That's pretty chilling.
There's a theory by Robert Temple that suggests some UFOs could be made of self-aware plasma, a kind of living energy that responds to intention.
So we're not talking about a fancy spaceship. We're talking about something that might be alive and responsive in a way we haven't even begun to grasp.
Exactly, and this leads to a really profound question. Is telepathy just a power, or is it a window into a technology or mode of interaction that's beyond our current understanding?
It's mind-blowing, and if telepathy is this crucial link, and children and individuals from indigenous cultures are particularly adept at it, are there any echoes of this in ancient traditions and spiritual practices?
That's what makes this so fascinating. If you look at ancient cultures worldwide, we see remarkable parallels. Take the Australian Aboriginals' concept of dreamtime. It's a realm where everything is interconnected, where consciousness isn't limited to individuals but flows through all of existence.
That actually resonates with concepts we're discovering in modern physics, like quantum entanglement, where particles are linked regardless of distance.
Precisely. And then there are the shamanic practices in Native American cultures, where individuals enter altered states of consciousness to communicate with spirits and the essence of nature. This idea of bridging the physical and non-physical, the seen and unseen, has echoes in what Barber and Sheehan describe.
It definitely challenges our assumptions about what's possible. Could these ancient traditions hold clue to the true potential of human consciousness, a potential that modern science is only starting to understand?
Think about the concept of siddhis in Hinduism. These are psychic powers attained through spiritual practices like meditation and yoga. These traditions suggest that the human mind, when properly trained and attuned, can achieve extraordinary feats, things that we might consider supernatural today.
It makes you wonder, if this potential lies within us, are we using it responsibly? Are these alleged government programs using these abilities ethically, or are they exploiting them?
Unfortunately, the historical context is not very encouraging. We have to remember the MK Ultra experiments in the 1950s. The CIA explored using drugs and other methods to enhance psychic abilities, often pushing ethical boundaries.
And Barber and Sheehan claimed that children and indigenous people were taken from their families and subjected to potentially harmful experiments.
It raises a deeply unsettling question. If telepathy is a sacred gift, a manifestation of our connection to something greater, Is manipulating it for military or political gain a form of violation?
It's definitely a sobering thought. We can't ignore the potential for exploitation when dealing with something as powerful and transformative as telepathy. But before we get deeper into the ethical implications, I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of you, our incredible viewers. Your support and enthusiasm make these explorations possible. If you're finding this deep dive as fascinating as we are, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. Let's keep these conversations going. Now back to our exploration. We've been discussing telepathy and psionic abilities mostly through anecdotes and historical examples, but is there any scientific research that supports the existence of these phenomena?
There's a growing body of research that suggests our current scientific model might be too limited to fully grasp the complexities of consciousness.
So we have intriguing anecdotes, ancient traditions, and now even hints from science. What specific research are we talking about?
Michael Persecure's ad helmet experiment is a fascinating example. He used magnetic stimulation of specific brain regions to induce experiences of a sensed presence and altered states of consciousness in his subject.
It's like he was artificially creating a sense of the supernatural through technology.
In a way, yes. His findings suggest that our experience of reality, even our perception of the spiritual, is deeply connected to electromagnetic activity in our brains.
Could it be that individuals with psionic abilities are tapping into a latent human potential to perceive realities beyond our normal senses?
It's a compelling possibility, and it connects with Rupert Sheldrake's theory of morphic resonance, the idea that there are fields of information that connect all living things.
So a kind of collective unconscious like Carl Jung proposed.
Exactly. Sheldrake goes further, suggesting that humanity is evolving towards a state of total telepathy, a new stage of consciousness where our minds are interconnected in ways we can barely imagine.
That's a bold prediction. Is there any evidence to report such a leap?
Look at the trajectory of technology. We've created artificial intelligence that can learn, adapt, and even communicate in ways that mimic human thought. Some scientists believe that in the not-too-distant future, machines might develop something similar to digital telepathy, the ability to transmit thoughts directly without the need for language or physical devices.
So instead of texting, we can just beam our thoughts directly to another person's mind.
Precisely. Now, here's where it gets really thought-provoking. What if, instead of relying on technology to create artificial telepathy, we rediscover our own innate telepathic potential?
Like those children Barbara described. What if they're showing us a path toward a future where we can connect mind to mind, heart to heart, without the need for external devices?
Imagine a world where communication is instant intuitive, where misunderstandings are minimized because we can perceive each other's thoughts and emotions directly.
That sounds utopian, but how do we even begin to tap into this potential? If these abilities are dormant within us, how do we awaken them?
It's a question that has intrigued philosophers and spiritual seekers for centuries. It might involve a combination of ancient practices like meditation and mindfulness, coupled with a deeper understanding of the brain and consciousness.
We might need to reevaluate our relationship with technology too. Are we becoming too reliant on external devices, neglecting the potential within our own minds?
It's a crucial question. Perhaps the emergence of advanced AI and the possibility of digital telepathy is a wake-up call, urging us to look inwards and rediscover our own innate abilities.
The entire UFO phenomenon, with its implications of advanced consciousness and technology, seems to challenge our most fundamental assumptions about reality and what's possible.
What if these beings, these intelligences piloting these craft, have already achieved the level of consciousness we're aspiring to? What if they're here to guide us, to show us the way?
It's a humbling thought that we might have a lot to learn from these other intelligences about ourselves, about consciousness, about the nature of reality itself.
And if Sheldrake's vision of a telepathic species is accurate, then these encounters, these glimpses into other realms of consciousness, might be the catalyst for our next evolutionary leap.
It's both exciting and a little terrifying to imagine such a transformation, but as we've discussed, there's a dark side to this story as well. The potential for abuse, for manipulation of these abilities is immense.
Precisely. Programs like MKUltra are stark reminders of what happens when powerful institutions try to weaponize consciousness. We can't just ignore the ethical implications of this emerging reality.
So how do we ensure that these abilities, if they are indeed real and accessible to us, are used for good, for the betterment of humanity and the planet?
It requires a collective effort. We need open dialogue, ethical guidelines, and a deep understanding of the spiritual implications of wielding such power. We need to learn from indigenous cultures, from spiritual traditions that have explored these realms for centuries, to ensure that we approach this potential with respect, humility, and a deep sense of responsibility.
It's a massive challenge, one that requires us to rethink our values, our priorities, and our very understanding of what it means to be human in a universe that's far more mysterious and interconnected than we ever imagined.
We're at a pivotal moment in human history. It's standing on the threshold of a new era. The choices we make now will determine the course of our evolution, not just technologically, but consciously and spiritually as well.
Another reminder to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with anyone who might be interested in exploring these mind-blowing topics with us. Let's create a community of truth seekers, of those who are willing to delve into the mysteries of consciousness and the universe.
Yeah, it really suggests that our current scientific understanding might be too limited,
So we've got these intriguing stories, ancient traditions, and now even science seems to be backing it up. What specific research are we talking about here?
Well, Michael Persinger's God-Hovet experiment is a great example. He used magnetic stimulation on certain parts of the brain, and this actually induced experiences of a sensed presence and altered states of consciousness in his subjects.
Wow, so it's like he was artificially creating a sense of the supernatural using technology.
Yeah, in a way you could say that. His findings suggest that how we experience reality, even our perception of the spiritual, is closely tied to the electromagnetic activity in our brains.
So is it possible that people with psionic abilities are tapping into some hidden human potential? Could they be perceiving realities that are beyond our normal senses?
It's definitely a fascinating possibility, and it links up with Rupert Sheldrake's theory of morphic resonance. This is the idea that there are these fields of information that connect all living things.
So kind of like a collective unconscious like Carl Jung talked about.
Exactly, but Sheldrake goes even further. He suggests that humanity is evolving towards a state of total telepathy, a new stage of consciousness where our minds are all interconnected in ways we can hardly imagine.
That's a bold prediction. Is there any evidence to suggest such a huge leap is even possible?
Well, just look at how technology has advanced. We've created AI that can learn, adapt, and even communicate in ways that are similar to human thought. Some scientists think that in the not-too-distant future, machines could even develop a kind of digital telepathy, the ability to send thoughts directly without needing language or physical devices.
So you're saying that instead of texting, we could just beam our thoughts directly into someone else's mind?
That's the idea. And here's where it gets really interesting. What if instead of relying on technology to create artificial telepathy, we could rediscover our own natural telepathic potential?
It's like those children that Barbara described. What if they're showing us a path to a future where we can connect mind to mind, heart to heart, without needing any external devices?
Imagine a world where communication is instant and intuitive. A world where misunderstandings are rare because we can directly sense each other's thoughts and emotions.
That sounds incredible, but also a little scary. How do we even start to tap into that potential? If these abilities are dormant within us, how do we awaken them?
That's a question that has puzzled philosophers and spiritual seekers for ages. It might involve a combination of things. Ancient practices like meditation and mindfulness, along with a deeper understanding of the brain and how consciousness works.
Maybe we need to rethink how we use technology too. Are we becoming too dependent on external devices and neglecting the potential that's already within our own minds?
That's a really important question. Maybe the emergence of advanced AI and the possibility of digital telepathy is like a wake-up call, a call to look inward and rediscover our own innate abilities.
You know, the whole UFO phenomenon with its hints of advanced consciousness and technology, it really challenges everything we thought we knew about reality and what's possible.
What if these beings, these intelligences that are piloting these craft, they've already reached that level of consciousness that we're striving for? What if they're here to help us, to show us the way?
It's a humbling thought. To think that we might have so much to learn from these other intelligences about ourselves, about consciousness, about the nature of reality itself.
And if Sheldrake's right about us becoming a telepathic species, then these encounters, these glimpses into other realms of consciousness, they could be the catalysts that trigger our next big evolutionary leap.
It's both exciting and a little terrifying to think about a transformation like that. But like we've been talking about, there's a darker side to this too. There's so much potential for abuse and manipulation with abilities like this.
You're absolutely right. Programs like MKUltra are harsh reminders of what happens when powerful groups try to weaponize consciousness. We can't afford to ignore the ethical side of this emerging reality.
So how do we make sure that these abilities, if they're real and we can access them, are used for good? How do we make sure they're used to benefit humanity and the planet?
It's going to take a collective effort. We need open and honest conversations, ethical guidelines, and a deep understanding of what it means spiritually to wield this kind of power. We need to learn from indigenous cultures, from spiritual traditions that have been exploring these realms for centuries. We need to approach this potential with respect, humility, and a deep sense of responsibility.
It's a huge challenge. It requires us to rethink our values, our priorities, our whole whole understanding of what it means to be human in a universe that's far more mysterious and interconnected than we ever thought possible.
We are at a turning point in history, standing on the edge of a new era. The choices we make now will determine the course of our evolution. Not just our technological evolution, but our conscious and spiritual evolution as well.
Another reminder to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with anyone you think might be interested in exploring these mind-blowing ideas with us. Let's build a community of people who are searching for the truth, who are willing to dive into the mysteries of consciousness and the universe.
You know, as we go deeper into these mysteries, I keep coming back to this one question.
What's that?
What if these kids with these supposed psionic abilities aren't just anomalies? What if they're like glimpses into what we could all become?
I mean, like, they're showing us a path to a reality where consciousness goes beyond our physical senses.
Yeah, exactly. The evidence, even though it's mostly anecdotal and hidden behind secrecy, is pretty compelling. We have these accounts from people like Jake Barber and Daniel Sheehan who seem credible, suggesting that there are programs out there exploring these abilities. And then you've got these ancient traditions from all over the world that hint at this hidden human potential for telepathy and other psychic stuff.
And we can't forget about the scientific research that's starting to challenge our materialist view of the world.
Exactly. Take Michael Persinger's God Helmet experiment, for example. It suggests that how we experience reality, even the spiritual realm, is deeply tied to the electromagnetic activity in our brains.
So what you're saying is that what we think of as supernatural might actually just be another part of reality, a part that we haven't figured out how to understand yet.
Right. And then there's Rupert Sheldrake's theory of morphic resonance, the idea that all living things are connected by fields information that influence their form and behavior.
Like a cosmic internet connecting us all the ways we can't even see.
Yeah, and Sheldrake even suggests that we're moving toward a state of total telepathy, where our minds will be linked in ways we can barely imagine.
Wow, that's a pretty mind-blowing idea.
It is. But it also makes you think about the potential for chaos and misuse if we're not ready for it.
That's true. That's why it's so important to consider the ethical implications. If these abilities are real, we need to approach them responsibly. We can learn from these ancient spiritual traditions that have been exploring these realms for centuries.
Absolutely. We need transparency, ethical guidelines, a global discussion about what this all means. We need to learn from indigenous cultures, from those who have a deep understanding of consciousness and interconnectedness.
We've seen what can happen when these abilities are exploited. Programs like MKUltra are a stark reminder of that.
Right. We can't afford to make those mistakes again.
It feels like we're at a crossroads. We have to decide if we'll use these emerging abilities to create a better world, or if we'll fall back into the same patterns of greed, fear, and control.
The answer, I think, lies within each of us. It's about realizing the power of our own minds, our ability to shape not just our own realities, but the fabric of consciousness itself. It's about embracing a worldview that honors both science and spirituality, recognizing that the universe is way more mysterious and interconnected than we ever thought.
So what can we do as individuals to get ready for this possible future?
Pay attention to your own experiences. Have you ever had a strong feeling that came true? A dream that felt incredibly real? That sense of knowing something before it happened? Those might be glimpses of your own psionic abilities.
So you're encouraging people to tap into their intuition, to listen to those inner whispers and nudges.
Exactly. Cultivate that sense of wonder, that willingness to question what you think you know about the world. Explore different spiritual practices, connect with nature. Sometimes the answers come when you step outside your comfort zone and expand your awareness.
It's like a call to adventure, an invitation to rediscover the magic and mystery of being human.
And who knows, maybe those ISI kids, those incredible individuals who seems to be at the forefront of this whole thing, maybe there are guides showing us the way to a future where humanity embraces its full potential.
That's a future worth fighting for. A future where we're not limited by our current perception, where we tap into the infinite possibilities of consciousness itself.
What if the key to unlocking our psionic potential, to truly understanding UFOs and our place in the cosmos? What if it doesn't lie in technology or government programs? What if it's within us all along, in our hearts and minds?
That's a powerful thought, and I think it's something our viewers will really connect with. We've covered a lot of ground today, but it all comes back to remembering who we really are, rediscovering our connection to something much bigger than ourselves. If you've been touched by this conversation, please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Let's keep this conversation going. And before we go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to The Quantum Soul for more explorations into the unknown, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming deep dives. Check out the 2 videos on your screen to continue your journey. Until next time, keep searching, keep questioning, and keep expanding your awareness. The universe is filled with wonders waiting to be discovered.